Keir Starmer's government is facing mounting scrutiny and outrage from the public as fears grow over looming tax hikes, and a series of controversial decisions shake confidence in his administration. With millions of Britons already grappling with rising costs and economic uncertainty, Starmer's refusal to rule out a national insurance increase has sent shockwaves through the country. The growing sense of betrayal is echoed by critics from all corners of society, who believe that Labour's tax policies could plunge the UK into further chaos. In a dramatic exchange during Prime Minister's questions, former PM Rishi Sunak directly confronted Starmer about his government's fiscal plans, particularly over the controversial possibility of raising national insurance contributions. Sunak challenged Starmer, reminding him of Labour's previous pledge not to raise taxes on working people. Can he confirm that when he promised not to raise national insurance, income tax or VAT, that commitment applies to both employer and employee NI contributions? Sunak demanded. Starmer, however, avoided giving a direct answer. Instead, he offered a vague and non-committal response, stating, "We made an absolute commitment to not raising taxes on working people, but refusing to clarify if this promise extended to employers." His reluctance to address the issue has raised alarms across the country, especially among middle-income earners and businesses who fear they could be targeted to fill the £22 billion black hole in the UK's finances. Adding to the public's unease is Chancellor Rachel Reeves's upcoming autumn budget on October 30th. With speculation mounting that Reeves could announce a series of tax increases, many Britons are bracing for bad news. The Labour government has already hinted at scrapping the controversial non-dom tax loophole, which allows wealthy individuals to avoid paying taxes on their overseas earnings. However, the loss of revenue from non-doms means Labour may have to look elsewhere to raise funds, and that elsewhere could be the pockets of ordinary Britons. Robert Salter, tax director at Blick Rothenberg, has warned that the government may have no choice but to increase taxes on middle-income earners. Without the anticipated income from non-doms, the government will have to look elsewhere, he said. Their only real option will be to increase taxes on middle-income earners, despite their pre-election promises not to do this. This potential tax raid on middle earners has left millions feeling betrayed by a government that promised not to raise taxes on working people. Businesses are also worried about the impact of a possible increase in employer national insurance contributions. Currently, employers pay a 13.8% NI contribution on earnings above £175 per week. An increase in this rate could lead to job cuts, reduced hiring, and further economic stagnation at a time when the UK is already grappling with a cost-of-living crisis. As the public's anxiety over tax hikes grows, other troubling issues are also adding to the sense of disillusionment with Starmer's government. One of the most pressing concerns is the ongoing migrant crisis. A recent study led by Oxford University revealed that there are up to 745,000 illegal migrants currently living in the UK. The staggering numbers have sparked outrage among the public, with many accusing the government of failing to get a grip on the crisis. During a heated discussion on GB News, political commentator Andrew Pearce blasted the government's handling of the migrant crisis. "This is political manna from heaven for Nigel Farage and reform," Pearce said, suggesting that the Labour government's failure to control immigration would play into the hands of right-wing populists. Pearce clashed with fellow commentator Nigel Nelson, who defended Labour's new Border Security Command, a measure designed to tackle people-smuggling gangs. But Pearce was unimpressed. "Send them back to France," he exclaimed, calling for a tougher stance on migrants crossing the Channel in small boats. According to government data, a record-breaking number of migrants, 973 people in just 17 boats, crossed the Channel in a single day in 2024, bringing the total for the year to over 26,000. The figures mark a 5% increase compared to the previous year, same point in 2023, raising serious questions about the effectiveness of Labour's immigration policies. Many critics argue that Starmer's decision to scrap the Rwanda deportation plan has only exacerbated the crisis. The Prime Minister's opponents have accused him of being soft on immigration, with senior Tories claiming that Labour's approach is putting lives at risk. The government's decision to abandon the controversial Rwanda plan, which would have deported asylum seekers to Rwanda, has been slammed by right-wing commentators and members of the public alike. Despite this, Starmer and his government have pledged to tackle the issue by cracking down on people-smuggling gangs. A Home Office source defended the government's actions, stating, "Far from softening the response, this new government has increased returns of those living here illegally and set up a new border security command to relentlessly pursue the criminal smuggling gangs." However, many remain unconvinced. The public's frustration with the migrant crisis is only deepening, and critics are questioning whether Labour's policies are up to the task of addressing the root causes of illegal immigration. With more and more migrants crossing the Channel every day, the sense of urgency surrounding the issue is palpable. Meanwhile, pensioners are also feeling the squeeze, with concerns mounting over potential changes to council tax in the upcoming budget. Derek Brown, a 74-year-old pensioner from North Yorkshire, has voiced his fears about losing his 25% council tax discount, which he currently receives as a full-time carer for his wife, Margaret, who has dementia. Brown fears that the government's drive to balance the books could result in vulnerable people like him losing vital support. "When she forgets your name, and when she looks at you as if, 'Who are you?' That's really hard," Brown said, describing the emotional toll of caring for his wife. "The first time it happens, it's like a knife going in you." With the loss of the £300 winter heating allowance already looming, pensioners like Brown are worried that the government's tax policies could push them into financial hardship. Brown has been campaigning for a change in the law to protect dementia patients and their carers, calling for council tax discounts to be backdated for those with the disease. "We're losing the £300 heating allowance, and the average value of the council tax discount is just over £500 a year. So the government is talking about taking away £500 from people who've got dementia," Brown said. "How are they going to survive?" Rachel Reeves, the Labour Chancellor, has acknowledged that difficult decisions lie ahead in the budget. She has previously stated that Labour's goal is to achieve fairness in the tax system, but many are sceptical. Reports suggest that the government may introduce changes to fuel duties as part of its effort to address the £22 billion deficit. Some experts are predicting that the 5p per litre cut in fuel duty, introduced by the Conservative government in response to the war in Ukraine, could be scrapped. This potential increase in fuel prices would add further strain to an already beleaguered public, particularly motorists who are already feeling the pinch at the pump. The government's promise of a fair deal for petrol and diesel drivers has done little to reassure the public. RAC Fuel Watch data shows that motorists are currently paying an average of 134.46 per litre for petrol and 139.15 for diesel, and these prices are expected to rise further if the fuel duty cut is scrapped. With less than a week to go until the autumn budget, the tension is mounting. The public is bracing for what could be a series of harsh and unpopular measures as Starmer's government grapples with the challenges of governing during a time of economic crisis. As fears grow over national insurance hikes, tax raids, and the migrant crisis spiralling out of control, the question remains: can Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves deliver on their promises, or is the UK headed for an even deeper financial and political crisis?